In what classic 1950s sitcom did Lucille Ball play a character whose husband was a Cuban-American band leader? I Love Lucy. What was the full name of Ricky Ricardo's best friend and next-door neighbor on this show? Fred Mertz. On The Andy Griffith Show, what was the name of Barney Fife's girlfriend? Helen Crump. On Fred Flintstone, what was the occupation of Fred Flintstone's best friend, Barney Rubble? Crane operator. What was the surname of the family in the classic 1960s sitcom about a witch married to a mortal man? Stevens, Bewitched. The theme song for the Beverly Hillbillies explains that Jed was shooting at a what when he discovered oil? A squirrel. What kind of car did Herman Munster drive? A custom-made hearse, also known as the coach. Which character on Gilligan's Island was a millionaire? Thurston Howell III. In the Dick Van Dyke Show, what was the name of the show that Rob Petrie wrote for? The Alan Brady Show. What was the name of the talking horse in the sitcom that premiered in 1961? Mr. Ed. On the Brady Bunch, what was the name of the family's housekeeper? Alice Nelson. What was the name of the Milwaukee brewery where Laverne and Shirley worked? Schatz Brewery. On Happy Days, what was the Fonz's full first name? Arthur. What was the profession of Mary Richards on the Mary Tyler Moore Show? Associate producer at WJM-TV. What famous catchphrase did Archie Bunker of All in the Family often use after his wife Edith said something? Stifle it. What was the name of Fred Sanford's son on Sanford and Son? Lamont. The sitcom MASH was set during what real-life war? The Korean War. What was the name of the fictional high school in Welcome Back, Kotter? Buchanan High. Which show, a spin-off of All in the Family, featured George and Louise Jefferson moving on up to a luxury apartment? The Jeffersons. What was the name of the diner owned by the Cunningham family on Happy Days? Arnold's Drive-In. On Cheers, what was the name of the owner and head bartender? Sam Malone. On The Facts of Life, what state did the family attend a boarding school in? New York. Peekskill, New York. What alien species was Mork from on the show Mork and Mindy? Orc. What was the name of the detective agency that Simon and Simon operated? Simon and Simon, Inc. On The Golden Girls, what was Dorothy Zabornak's job? Substitute teacher. Which sitcom featured a family whose dad was an architect and the mom was a political organizer or lawyer? Family Ties. Who played the title character, a former baseball player who becomes a live-in housekeeper, in Who's the Boss? Tony Danza. What was the surname of the family in The Cosby Show? Huxtable. In Growing Pains, what was the profession of the family patriarch Jason Seaver? Psychiatrist. What was the name of the coffee shop owned by the characters on Punky Brewster? The Sticking Place. Which 1990s sitcom revolved around the lives of a group of friends who spent most of their time at the coffee shop Central Perk? Friends. What was the last name of the family in Full House? Tanner. On Seinfeld, what was the name of Jerry's perpetually unemployed neighbor? Cosmo Kramer. On The Nanny, what was the first name of Fran Fine's employer? Maxwell. The character Steve Urkel from Family Matters was a spin-off from which other show? Perfect Strangers. Which character on Mad About You was a documentary filmmaker? Jamie Buchman. What was the name of the Seattle coffee house that Fraser and Niles Crane frequented? Coffee Nervosa. What was the name of the fictional high school in Saved by the Bell? Bayside High School. What was the original title of the theme song for The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Yo Home to Bel-Air. On The Simpsons, what is the name of Bart's school principal? Seymour Skinner. Which classic sitcom character was known for the line, Nanu Nanu? Mork. Mork and Mindy. The catchphrase, dynamite, belonged to which character from Good Times? J.J. Evans. Good Times. What classic sitcom featured the recurring line, "To the moon, Alice"? The Honeymooners. The line, "Marcia, Marcia, Marcia," was famously said by which sibling on the Brady Bunch? Jan Brady. What was the name of the nosy neighbor on Bewitched? Gladys Clovitz. What was the full name of the Fonz sidekick on Happy Days? Potsy Weber. What character famously stated, "I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV"? Dr. Lawrence Jacoby, Twin Peaks. What was the name of the main church reverend in The Andy Griffith Show? Reverend Tookston. On One Day at a Time, what was the last name of the mother and two daughters? Romano. What character from The Honeymooners was a sewer worker? Ed Norton.